everyone, and welcome back to the Disc-ussions, where we talk about movies, music, and everything in between. I'm your host, as usual, Adrian, aka Move Mantis, and joining me are my two lovely co-hosts.
Hey, I'm Daniel, also known as Rated DG13. You can find me on any platform under that name or Rated GG13, depending on whether or not it was taken.
And I'm just Hunter.
And welcome back to an exciting new episode. It's gonna be a little strange, a little weird this time because, okay, so basically, we're talking about what was recommended at the end of the Magnolia episode, but due to technical difficulties. Completely my fault because I don't even know what happened. I just did the same thing I usually do when we record, and it just didn't record anybody. So we're gonna have to re-record the whole episode again. So we're not talking about Magnolia this episode. This episode will be what was recommended by me at the end of the Magnolia episode, which was the Kanye trilogy, the classic Kanye trilogy. That's College Dropout, Late Registration, and Graduation. And then sometime the next week we'll record again and hopefully release that Magnolia episode. And then Daniel will give his recommendation at the end of that. So no recommendation at the end of this episode. Next time we'll be talking about Magnolia again, or I guess the first time for the listeners again for us. But to just start getting the discussion, because we do have a lot to talk about. It's three albums, like I said, mentioned before, the three classic Kanye, as a lot of people like to dub it as. I don't want to be that guy, but I kind of miss the old Kanye, not gonna lie. And especially re-listening all these three albums, I don't know, it just made me feel a bit of a sense of nostalgia, because I don't know, it's such like a different like time in his career opposed to his like his most recent Donda or any of his most recent albums in the last like I don't know what, like 10 years. They seem not completely different, but there's just some things he talks about and he raps about on these albums that I don't know. I think it's just all really comes down to relatability for me, at least. Like, I feel like these first three albums are a lot more relatable. He raps and talks about a lot more things that people can understand and relate to, and he hasn't kind of gone off like the deep end yet.
Yeah, this was a unique experience for me because I might have met. Well, I mean, they didn't hear the Magnolia episode, but I mentioned that I really haven't gotten into Kanye at all, and not out of any kind of like outright distaste for anything I've heard. It's just like, there's a ton of great artists out there that I can recognize as talented, but just don't really click with me. And especially since like I was mostly just listening to the recent stuff, it wasn't really like hitting me in any significant way. I did give a few albums a like full listen, like Life of Pablo. It was, so going back to his roots and especially like one after the other, just like kind of because I had to. And as it went along, it was never a chore to listen to, but like helped uh, doing this for a project instead of just like, kind of brushing it off as just like fine for most, songs that I heard, and, really getting into what he was talking about and, how much things have changed. It makes it very interesting. Yeah, I would say that it was a very worthwhile experience in the end, and I'm excited to get into a lot of the stuff lyrically. And yeah, what do you think, Hunter?
Um, Honestly, I don't have any strong feelings. I won't lie. I only kind of got into Kanye like in the last year and a half. And it's only because of our friend group exposing me to Kanye. I know who he was. I've heard a few songs from him, but um, now that I've actually gotten into him, especially with listening to these first three albums, I've really grown to appreciate it. Um, Even later stuff, especially like Life is Pablo, which might be my favorite. I know we're only talking about the first three, but um, Kanye does some really good samples, and he's really talented. It just sucks that he's like fucking crazy. Um,
That was good. So I think we should just go ahead and then jump into the first album. His first album came out 2004. Kanye, College Dropout, his first album. Um, and actually, he for a long time produced before this. He produced for a while before he made his first album, producing for people like Jay Z, like the Far Side, um, uh, escaping their names, escaping Slum Village, people like that. Um, Created a lot of hits on those albums, and yeah, this is a very and the whole this whole first trilogy is really very school themed. But I feel like this first one, College Dropout, is definitely the one that leans to into it like heavily the most, with a lot of the songs kind of reflecting going to school, the struggle of like the layman of like the importance of that people put on like going to college and getting a degree, um, and just like not only doing that but working hard towards that, working minimum wage jobs that don't pay you very much, or being scrutinized and discriminated against, um, either while in school or at your job, all trying to get to something that doesn't even really necessarily guarantee you a fabulous, great life.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
going off of the first one, we don't care. Uh, like this one's about selling drugs and how like um especially like since the way it's introduced is like like that guy who I don't really know who he's supposed to represent, but like that guy was just like talking to Weston like that really weird voice. It's funny because it's jaunty, but it's also just like this really sad like outlook on what some people are in for when they grow up. And I really don't uh have the words to like solve any sort of like you know situations like this that it feels like a something illegal is like the only option to like survive uh as you grow up. And just even for just like one section of your life. And like yeah, I'm really I found it just like kind of this, yeah, a good juxtaposition of like having this really upbeat kind of carefree tone that's like when you read the lyrics. And that's just like that's just a ton of songs that I like when it's like it's something you can dance. So just really something thoughtful and real. And that's one of my like favorite Outcast lines. You don't want to hear me, you just want to dance. And I think that's really captured here. And just writing stuff that they say write what you know. And for him to just like kind of this whole thing, it kind of being this weird prolific album about like he's already telling his origin story,
Mm-hmm.
for someone who like, and he didn't quite come from like nothing. I still feel like there's a lot of people kind of brush over the fact that he produced for like Jay-Z, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean that's still like a that's nothing to like just ignore. Even though he was never like always as big as he was, like from child star to like adulthood or anything. And there's still something commendable about that. I do think that it's also important to remember that he did have his foot in the door somehow. And like um the way he's still able to like level with listeners like this who are like aspiring artists and or just don't know what they want to do with their lives, which comes with a lot of college themed like stories, whether it be in music or movies. um yeah, I think that I do appreciate how like even though he is at a point in his career when this came out where he could accomplish a lot without like um you know like it's not quite like coming from nothing at the same time. But he doesn't quite come off as like haughty and full of himself as he does in later albums.
Mm-hmm.
I do appreciate that. And yeah, it's just a really great song altogether.
Oh yeah, just the pairing of those first three tracks of yeah, like you said, the funny sounding guy kind of talking and trying to get him to basically get the kids' spirits up or get them to basically be appreciative or be into school, and him kind of being like, oh, and he says it in that first line of the song, oh, I got the perfect thing for the kids, and it's just really kind of a reflection of reality that I guess you shouldn't care what people think of you. You should just be trying to get to the top, or you're trying to get somewhere in your life, whether that is dealing drugs or doing whatever, because these people don't really care about you all too much. They care about getting people involved and getting their numbers up, but not really kind of you as an individual, and that's what you kind of have to worry about.
I
Which is
actually have a funny comment about that on the next song, but
Yeah, which is
I'll
funny because
wait.
I was about to say like his next song is literally about like doing the opposite. Well, it was like not really doing the opposite, but kind of taking that and using it to just buy shit. And how kind of you can build yourself up, but it could all fall down.
Well, I was actually gonna say before we get to that song, uh, specifically with I like this little thing he says in Graduation Day. Um, it's just the same guy like getting on the Kanye. He's like getting on to Kanye because he sang that song. He's like, oh, that's messed up, man. You can't be singing stuff like that to kids. But then one of the lines in the song is him saying, like, I'm trying to get out here with these white people, and this is how you're gonna do me. And it's like he like knows like the real road. Even he knows the real road to success, and like kind of kind kind of everybody does, and not like oh just necessarily like white people are the answer, but it's just like, oh yeah, black kids have a hard time and they have to sell drugs, and like schools need to like kind of like it's just like they're like shaming him for like telling them the truth when like it's kind of really all he's telling them is like like things are more caution, like it's more of a cautionary um song than anything else, just because like I just think it's funny, like representative of kind of how people are. Like if you tell the truth in like in a raw true way, it's like you're like inappropriate, even though like it's still true, like it still holds true.
Yeah, I also like how he kind of he kind of introduces this. Uh, I'm pretty sure she's unnamed, like female character, where she's just like, well, I mean, she was kind of just kind of pushed into it by her parents, and like, she doesn't want to disappoint them, even though like, yeah, it's like it's the that idea of like it's something that everyone has to do in order to like come into their own as a person, go to college and get a degree, but even then it doesn't, yeah, it doesn't make much money. It doesn't like really it's not really something that she's into. It's not uh really benefiting her in like any serious way, and um this really jaunty song about something really sad and uh the hook of it being it's all just gonna like who you're gonna call when it all falls down. It's like um really just playing into that idea of everyone's like striving to this. It's like it's kind of like that everyone gets like pushed into, no matter, it doesn't really like mean they're like a good or bad person if they're like becoming a consumer, but like it has it's kind of like this thing that can't be fulfilled sometimes, whenever it's like, the idea is to get as many people as possible to buy as much stuff as possible to like, kind of, feed into the economy, and like, just
Yeah,
kind of
I wrote here in my notes.
attaching that.
The first thing I thought it was consumer complacency, basically being complacent, kind of with the stuff that you buy. I like this album, but I think, and especially me looking at the track list, I know I complimented him on the skits earlier, but I feel like there's just maybe a little too many. And I'm kind of looking at the track list here, and that kind of shows off my biggest problem with Kanye, and I think this is still relevant even like today. he just makes shit like way too long sometimes. Like there's just like beats or things that he'll make and will go on and on and on, or like an album like this, like I feel like is a little bloated with a lot of these kind of skits, and a lot of them do work well with the album, but then some of them are just like, yeah, that was all right, but like, did it really need to be? And then did you really need to extend this album to like an hour and a half? And then I do like the next two tracks, but they kind of go hand in hand, because they kind of feed into each other, and all about kind of being released from your very shitty job, or like kind of getting out of your situation that you've been stuck in, like working a job, being marginalized and being belittled, and kind of questioning that, like, I'm doing all this, taking all this shit, getting this little money for like what? Like, again, just questioning the system of like getting a degree, or like the importance of it, you know, or the importance of like always having a job, or like doing these, you know, minimum wage kind of do not do nothing, but kind of mean nothing jobs, or just like servicing people, and how work just sucks in general, whether it's people being racist towards you, or the employees or the customers belittling you, and it's all just for what, you know. And it's kind of, I like these songs because it's like an imaginative kind of, and they take those first couple lines from the I don't know if you've heard of a song called I'll Fly Away. I can't remember the original artist off the top of my head, but it's a song that kind of speaks of the same thing, of that, once I die, like, I'll be free from, you know, all this kind of mortal like turmoil that you kind of have to go through.
Yeah, and
Yeah. I don't have too much to say about I'll Fly Away, but yeah, spaceship's definitely, I feel like, up there in some of the best songs. Off this album I can think of. I think that every adult who at least maybe past the age of 20, I would hope, um, could understand it, and just by working at most jobs, and it's like a real kind of wake up call to, like, you know, you need to be doing something with your life, that's more than just making, you know, servicing somebody else, you know, like just benefiting the rich, or just helping a manager who will only appreciate you when it serves them, and then just not really like helping you after that. um yeah, I just like Spaceship a lot. That's all I gotta say about that.
Mhm. Yeah, it paints a good picture. I really like the imagery of uh, that hook too. Just, you know, I'm just working to buy that spaceship and just like leave. You know, like it's such a like it's exaggerated, but not to the point of like being ridiculous. But just like, you know, as soon as I get money, I just want to like leave and just like, you know, just everything, all of Earth behind, and all of its like BS.
Which is funny, which is reflected of, like, you know, the previous song, which is about buying shit just to kind of consume, or just kind of to stay off all those like kind of bad thoughts, you know, of like wanting to leave, or like not thinking the shit is worth it at all.
Hmm.
And yeah, like good ass sample in this one. This is like really good, a lot of really good samples in this first album. His first album is also really sample heavy. Like, most of the songs have something that they sampled from.
Yeah, I really, especially when we get into uh, graduation, that one just like,
Mm.
yeah, has some of my absolute favorite samples from him. Even if they aren't, that one overall isn't my favorite like album. It's definitely like some of the most memorable sampling I heard. All of them. And I guess moving on to the next one, Jesus Walks. it's kind of regarded as like one of his like magnum opuses, really, right?
Mm-hmm. It's his first kind of, I guess not mentioned, but like outing of like his kind of the Christian side, because he's always been touted as like kind of the Christian rapper. He's like one of the only ones that's like very vocally, very outspokenly Christian, and he gets a lot of that from his mother, and I think, especially listening to this song and like the rest of the three albums, I really realized why Kanye really has like a distinct sound to him, and I think that has a lot to do with like like Jesus and like gospel music, because especially if you watch a lot of interviews with him, talking about the way he grew a lot around the church, and like grew around that music, like gospel music, and he uses a lot of those influences in his own music, especially in this one. Um, and not only in this one, a lot of the songs you always hear like some kind of chorus, like humming or singing something, and I can definitely see that, like grabbing that from a lot of religious gospel music.
Yeah, whenever he, at least before Jesus is King, I guess, yeah, that was another one I heard before I listened to this. That was like super short, and also kind of after, I guess not one of the more drastic dry spells in an artist's career, but it was a while, like, a little while before he released his last album, and that like 20-minute album, Jesus is King, just kind of, it wasn't, yeah, just again, like nothing like too memorable compared to, this stuff where it's like but he, throughout his career, he's always like utilized that gospel sound very well.
Mm-hmm.
And for it to kind of just, from what I've heard so far, just kind of like fizzle out into that one, especially since like that was when he had like, yeah, again, vocally kind of returned to Christianity. That was like when he decided to stop swearing too. It seemed like he was even deeper into it than, it was less of a motif and more just like what it was about. Um, yeah, it was pretty eye opening to hear it this early on in his career, and really just like, because it's kind of hard to tell what he means and doesn't mean a lot of the time, and not just like getting to like what point he's trying to make, but just like, especially with like the recent dramas, it just, a lot of the time it just kind of feels like he's always like pushing the envelope, but not in like a meaningful way. He just kind of wants to know what he can get away with saying because he's gotten so big. I mean, like that whole thing, it was just like, it was ripe for like, being like, memed out of, because it was just so out of like left field, and like it didn't make any sense, especially considering the kind of, you know, uh, music he made talking about, racism and stuff. Like he just says stuff, to just like get attention, and nowadays, and yeah, just like it's it's just really interesting, like going back to when he really wanted to, tell like, something that was like genuine and consistently throughout the album, instead of just like, for shock value and out of a sense of like invulnerability.
Yeah, because you definitely feel like, especially in Jesus Walks, that this coming from a place of experience, almost like a kind of frustration with like both kind of his Christianity side, the rap music, and just the music industry in general.
It's just like,
Um,
so like, yeah, okay, you can say.
no, you're good if you want to. I was just gonna say, um, I actually like how Jesus is King is kind of like or I'm sorry, not Jesus King, Jesus Walks. Uh, it's kind of the first song on the album that's a little bit more hopeful. Like, I mean, they're not, the rest of them aren't like totally depressing, but they're just like, oh yeah, shit sucks. And then when he gets kind of Jesus Walks, it's like, well, it kind of shows what's kind of driven him to, and it kind of almost educated him to get to this point, especially with following up Jesus Walks is Never Let Me Down. Um, and it's kind of like basically, okay, now that I'm past all the bullshit of like reality and like how shit sucks, like this is kind of my faith and my thoughts about it, and here's how I'm getting here, like through all this bullshit, and like never let me down. Jesus walks and never let me down. Following it up right after, I feel like is like um a good kind of segue into like what you're gonna get ready to listen to, and that you're hopeful that there will be more, and hopeful that he'll kind of make it
Yeah.
as this college dropout.
Especially like because he does mention Jesus in that song, or both of them do. Not Jay-Z, the other guy. I forget his freaking name, but they talk about you know believing in Jesus and believing in themselves, and how that'll never let them down. Um,
I don't have too much to say about Get 'Em High.
No. It's a very simple song, and that's funny about these a lot of these other songs that come after that. At least these first like 6 or 7, uh, uh they're a lot more straightforward. Like Get 'Em High or Never Let Me Down, which are basically just kind of specifically Get 'Em High is kind of just them kind of showing off like what they could do now, and how them rapping is a little more influential than like what people tell them to do, especially opposed to these other songs. All the struggle, getting into like other problems outside of like school and stuff, like with women and being marginalized and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was wondering what kind of angle he was taking it from, because I'm open to rappers, any artist really, just uh kind of talking about stuff that isn't like, the classiest, just like out of humor, or like uh I think there's a place for that, and like I can really get into it. I was just kind of wondering, like, uh yeah, just like how genuine it was, because I think for the most part, this entire album, even for the the real problems he's trying to tackle, a lot of the time, it uh just kind of that lifestyle of, becoming a celebrity. It really is, it's just kind of like, yeah, like you're gonna make that, that dance floor filler song that's just it's just kind of like, meant to get people dancing. And I'm not really sure how much he was like uh yeah, it's definitely a fun song, but I also like, it's also one of the like 5-minute songs, and I almost get like uh
Yeah.
yeah, it does go on for a bit long, and it's like I kind of get the point after like, yeah, just 3 minutes. And when for it to be like this song that's like, one of the longer ones, it was like
Mm-hmm.
uh yeah, not one of my favorite parts on the album, but and
And
nothing too like,
I mean throughout the album, there's a
nothing like
lot of like,
obnoxious.
wow, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least there's 6, 7 songs. I guess in AAV, I don't know. Oh, well, and we'll talk about that last song, but about 7 or 8 different songs that are over 4 minutes. Um, and I think with stuff like Family Business, 2 words, I think it's kind of earned. But I kind of do agree with you. Something like New Workout Plan, I think after a while it's just like, yeah, okay, you could have trimmed this down like a little bit.
Yeah, especially because it's like it, you know, going through the entire album compared to just
Mm-hmm.
like listening to the song by itself.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely like it's not quite as bad as Drunken Hot Girls
Mm-hmm.
and Graduation, but it is like, yeah, just like one of those like uh,
I,
on my re-listens, I
yeah.
wasn't, I kind of just like kind of picked my handful of my favorite songs, instead of like going through everything all over again. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I still made sure to listen to each album at least
Yeah.
twice
Yeah,
in
me
full.
as well. And this is kind of the part of the album to me where I think kind of gets a little bloated because there's a lot of those skits like Workout Plan and both the school spirit or the 3 school spirit skits. And I think this is where it kind of gets a little bloated because while I like you know Slow Jams has a really good twist of verse. I really like that twist of verse in that song, and even Breathe In, Breathe Out. forget that Ludacris can actually be a decent artist sometimes. I'm not a big Ludacris fan, but I like him in this song. But I think it's actually, because I was gonna mention that like that one also might be a little too long, but it's okay. It's like right there on the edge for me. It's kind of, unless you guys got anything to say about the other songs I just mentioned, "Breathe In, Breathe Out" with Ludacris, "School Spirit."
Not too much. I mean, I like these songs, but I agree. I think he just has this big tendency to kind of make songs a little bit too long.
Mm.
I just think he like, I mean, maybe part of it is like just putting all the work into the sample, and then he just really appreciates the sample, but he kind of just over appreciates it by just like kind of going over it like
Mhm.
80 times, and for him to finally be like, okay, I should end the song now.
Mhm.
I just think he doesn't know when to like cut it off, or like how to like end the song like very
Mhm.
well, a conclusion.
Mhm. And he
I
is
never
kind of
really
just
liked the
reiterating
songs
a
that he
lot of these
did.
songs, kind of what he's been talking about most of the album, like "School Sucks." I mean, that's the whole point of "School Spirit." Just kind of a critique on like basically like college is kind of where you do all this stuff but learn things. You make friends, you smoke weed, you fuck bitches, but you don't really learn too much. And a lot of the learning actually comes from getting to know people or finding out things on your own. Yeah, just it's like sandwiched between these the first like skit and then these two other skits that I feel like you could have done with really just one or the other, honestly. And then Two Words is just another kind of. It's still a good song. Most Def really is. Man, Most Def is just so good. I fucking love Most Def.
Mm.
Good verse is good. Again, good beat. Nothing to complain about that one. It's just like I said, this section of the album that I think is probably is the worst section of the album. Like it just feels like kind of a bit to get through all love, especially when I was listening to it the second time.
And it's kind of interesting because like uh you almost want to like pass it off as like, you know, their first album. They kind of want to include all their ideas, and then like as time goes on they knew how to like hone that in. But that's
Mm-hmm.
basically just Kanye at this point. You know, he really uh yeah, even then it makes like Jesus is King that much more like weird, because it's, is that like his shortest full length album of all time? Because like,
No, I think it's Yay. Yay. Yay only I think
mm,
had like 5 songs on it. I think.
yeah, it's pretty interesting
Uh,
how he these things that he's passionate about like coming into form depending on how long the albums are. I don't know.
mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if there's like any like kind of significance of with that when it comes to like him as a person, or if it's just like uh yeah, because he doesn't really seem to be the kind of guy who holds back very much. You know, if he wants to do something, he'll just do it, and
Mm-hmm.
doesn't really leave much on the cutting room floor. Um, and so yeah, that's pretty exemplified by these earlier albums.
Oh yeah. Through the Wire is like the best song on the album for me at least. Uh, it kind of encapsulates everything that he's just trying to portray, not only through the song but through because of real life events. Because if you don't know the story of Through the Wire, it's Kanye in the middle of recording this album gets into a car crash, survives, but he has to have his mouth wired shut because it was like dislocated from like his upper jaw. Like that's how bad the crash was,
Yeah.
and he ended up recording this song. I think they say he recorded it twice. Once with the wiring, and then he recorded again once he was healed up, and he kind of just mixed the two. Um, but yeah, I think it just kind of encapsulates this big theme of the album, which is like struggle, persistence, and achievement. Is like struggling through all this, struggling through like this car crash to not only make this song but make this album happen. Not to mention, it's got a amazing sample, the Chaka Khan through the fire sample. That he, man,
Hmm.
I love it every time. Probably one of my personal, not only off this album, but just personal favorite Kanye tracks. Through the Wire, really good.
Yeah, Through the Wires. I'm gonna agree. It's the best song on the album.
It's one of my favorites for sure. Just looking at the track listing, other than because it's such a strong opening, and I feel like it's just one of those songs that kind of like um, it's not really lost on me, but it's in that area of the album that like uh, I remember less just because of uh, the songs surrounding that great song, and we don't care. All falls down. Spaceship. It's such a like strong first half that like uh, yeah, it doesn't. By the time we get to this point, it's like I'm almost just kind of like waiting for it, the, the album to like pick up again. So like, yeah, it's a good wake up call,
And even
through the
Family
wire.
Business,
And
right after would it's almost like he's talked about everything, but like college, consumerism, women, and now he finally kind of gets to the last thing, and through interviews and stuff, and just through his albums, you can definitely tell he cares about family, not only like his mother, but later, when he gets married to what's her face, Kim Kardashian, has a family of his own, and I think a lot of that comes from um this first song, or at least a lot of reflection of that that eventually happened comes from this song. Man, this last one is just so like it's got a good beginning, and then after the actual song's over, like it just kind of is just this like 10-minute long like rap conversation type thing with him and Jay Z, and I don't know, maybe I'm just missing something, like missing some context, like I don't know, of like the time the album came out, or some like I don't know, inside joke, but I don't really get why this song's like 12 minutes. I don't
yeah, and
understand.
it's definitely indulgent because it's like,
Mm-mm.
yeah, obviously like it stops being a song and it's just like uh him like telling it how it is. And
Yeah.
at that point I wonder if like the because when it comes to songs, it's really tricky whenever you do get into skits and yeah, just like kind of interludes where you're just saying what the album is about and not really like
Yeah.
turning it into like a song. And there are like songs that are harder to listen to like intentionally that I still accept over most skits that are just explaining what it's about. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at this point, like it's still you know interesting stuff to learn about him, but it's just like it's and it is at the very end, so it's not really like you can't really get I couldn't get too mad at him for like just you
Mm-hmm.
know if you're gonna go in for like the album experience, it's definitely like inclusive. And I understand like why he made the decision to just go off at the end and not
Mm-hmm.
really like just but it's still like like at what point
Kind of like oh, if you
uh
didn't get it already, like here you go, like.
yeah that uh yeah it's just one of those like yeah
Yeah,
uh
a good song
early
before,
signs of just
and
like yeah
like decent closer, but yeah, just like you said, kind of just weird to make it like 12 fucking minutes.
do you guys think you want to say like your all-time favorite song on this first album was?
Yeah, we can do that and then give like a rating. I think I already mentioned mine. It was definitely even with the first half in mind. I really think it's Through the Wire. Through the Wire, it just has a good beat, a good sample, good bars. Not only that, a good actual real life backstory to it as well. Not only you know with the making of the album, but just making of the song. And very aptly named. So yeah, for me, it's definitely Through the Wire.
Yeah, for
I
me
guess I'll
it's
go next. No, you can. That's fine.
yeah, for me it's a real toss up between We Don't Care and All Falls Down because not growing up listening to Kanye, but like still, being a 2000s kid, it was really uh you know satisfying to hear like music that really encapsulates the time and of the 2000s. Like I've heard so much music from that time, from like R&B and
Mm-hmm.
rapping artists, that like yeah, it was fascinating to hear like this is essentially, consciously or not, what inspired them. And it yeah, it was like everything that they were trying to do, because I haven't listened to like a lot of the, I listened to like way more Christian artists back then, and kind of understanding what they were going for versus like what, made this sound popular. Yeah, just completely wrapped up in We Don't Care and All Falls Down for me. um and just yeah, really, really like because the 2000s were like, super rough, and everyone like makes fun of it, and it's completely like justified for like certain artists, but like this was like one of the best of that era. And just like it yeah, just like a good representation of the sound of that time without being like outdated. And like, like this is exactly why, like, a lot of the music was like uh kind of awkwardly transitioning. This was like the best, some of the best of that like byproduct, and just like experimenting, but also like um having more of a purpose to the sampling and the way the singing is balanced with the rapping. And yeah, it all really comes together. So I guess if I had to pick one, it would probably be We Don't Care.
Um, I'm gonna
So,
say I'm actually tied between two songs, and I've listened to them both a lot, and I don't think it'll ever not be a tie. Um, I like Never Let Me Down and Through the Wire like a lot, and I don't think I could pick one over the other. Um, and just I kind of would just end up reiterating what you would say. Just Through the Wire, as the like, even if you don't know the background story, like it's just like the most like motivating kind of song. Like it's just, yeah, like I did it. I'm a rapper after all this bullshit, and it just sounds good.
and you just want to give a rating real quick?
Yeah. Even though some of the songs could have, I wouldn't even call them filler. Just like kind of just reiterating the whole point of the album. Like after I get it after 5 songs. Even then, just almost every single song on this album like is good. Um, I'd say maybe New Workout Plan might be my least favorite. Um, but even like saying least favorite, I can't even say like I don't like it. So I'd probably have to give it like I'm gonna say an 8.5 out of 10.
Okay. And while it's not my favorite of his albums, honestly, it's not even probably my favorite album of these three that we listened to. But yeah, there's still a lot of good tracks, a lot of good samples. Is where a lot of his Kanye isms start. I think I'm also gonna give it like an 8.
Yeah, for me personally, I guess, um, yeah, rating movies for me is so much easier than
Mm-hmm.
music, because it's like way more subject to change. And for as much as I'm comfortable with my taste in music, it's also just like uh whenever I watch a movie, I feel like I'm way more prepared to rate it compared to music, where it's like I kind of like to see how long it sticks with me, and like how much I actually want to hear it again. And just like straight up, I'm not as versed in uh, talking about music as much as I am movies. But yeah, it was definitely one that I enjoyed uh, listening to, like in like over and over again, just out of uh, trying to absorb as much of it as possible. And yeah, uh, I guess just for now, I would give it like a 7. But yeah, it's a good 7. It's that's basically where yeah, anything above a 5 for me is like a mark of, like something like really memorable and special at least. And uh
Well, then I guess it's time to move on to the next album, his second album released in 2005. It's like the next year, yeah, like a year later. Not too long. Pretty short for like another album release, especially post to now. I feel like there's like 3 or 4 years between Kanye releases most of the time. Late Registration, 2005. I kind of immediately started to like this a little bit more than College Dropout when I started to listen to it, especially the second time. It's such a good man, but it's hard to compare the two because they both have really good openings. Like this is a really good opening skit into an opening track. Like you can kind of see he is still gonna touch on the school stuff a little bit because that's kind of the whole theme of these three albums. But I feel like this album has a lot more variety than College Dropout did. Like a lot more
mhm.
beats, a lot more different like things that he raps about, and overall, just I feel like even a more tighter album. Like I think there's only 3 skits, and all of them serve whatever song like comes after them. You know, like I said in the first one, or I guess four skits if you include the intro, or if you can include it as a skit, I guess. It's heard him say with that amazing Adam Levine. I'm not a huge Maroon 5 fan. I like a couple of their songs, especially because a lot of them, I grew up listening to when I was a kid. But man, he has an amazing hook, an amazing verse on that fucking song.
Yeah, it was also that and Adam Levine and um main guy of Coldplay like being on Graduation. It's very,
Yeah.
yeah, that was when it was like dipping its toe into like, man, like I remember when like these people were like huge, like
Mhm.
act like just massive like
Massive,
voices of
yeah.
the radio like
Mhm.
hits of. And
Yeah, because
yeah,
speaking of like
they're
early
utilized like,
2000s, yeah, fucking
yeah.
those guys all over like 2000, 2010, maybe even a little bit after that. Like all over that era.
And you even got John Bryan on here, who is
Mhm.
one of my favorite composers. He adds a lot to the vibe of this album, like working for me a lot more than the last one. It's very, yeah, just like that piano along with Adam Levine. It really, yeah, again, I just love it when this era of music is good because that's where I grew up in. And just kind of having all these artists in uh arguably their prime, a little less
Yeah.
harder to debate like with Adam Levine,
Mhm.
considering just like because like Maroon 5 is just like I couldn't like really, outside of like the radio hits, like I couldn't like understand the appeal really. But like at this point it was just like, oh yeah, I guess like um I don't really know what changed. I mean, it's it was surprising to like hear him and not kind of be immediately annoyed, because like I learned about that it was him afterwards. And yeah, it just kind of helped me appreciate it a little bit more, like knowing
Yeah.
that it was him, that it was someone that I wasn't really big into,
Mhm.
like more averse to than like Kanye. Like uh yeah, it was a nice surprise to like you know have him introduce this
Yeah.
album so effectively. And
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's a good intro, good first track. And it's kind of like College Dropout in a way where these first like 4, 5, fucking like just these are really good tracks in the beginning. Just like the kind of the double punch of like Touch the Sky and Gold Digger, two just amazing songs with two amazing samples and two great features in Lupe Fiasco and Jamie Foxx. Lupe Fiasco and Touch the
Mhm.
Sky, and then Gold Digger and Jamie Foxx. And I'd say a lot of this album is really kind of like specifically something like Touch the Sky and Celebration are really precursors to like graduation in a way, because this is more. This is not really like an I Made It album. I think it's more of like I'm almost there kind of album. I'm touching the sky. Like I'm so close that I can touch the sky. You know.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's a good fucking first like 7-8 tracks. It's just really really good, and especially I definitely enjoyed this one a lot more on a second listen through than probably College Dropout, because like I said before, I feel like there's less filler, there's less fluff. It feels like a more a tighter album.
Yeah, I
Um,
would. I guess. Oh, you can go.
sorry, I just didn't want to overtalk y'all, but I think I agree. Just cause I think yes, I didn't think about it too much until you said something, but I could do without the skits. Um, I mean the songs are plenty informative enough, but I guess that's what he wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
I like how especially with getting Adam Levine for the first song, just like you kind of know that he's gonna take off real fast, and that he's probably gonna make a ton more music and get a lot more like a collaboration going on, and like he's um like this like I think what I like about this one is it kind of shows not just what he wants to say, because every musician has something to say, but like also just that he's um he's not only going to just put work into like the lyric, but the actual like the sampling itself, and like being like more musically inclined. I feel like honestly his samples just get better and better, like especially I might say the samples are a little bit better than this song than College Dropout. Not that either song is better than the other, but like he just like you're right. He definitely gets more um, creative variety through this one.
And even like the context of the album, it's not so as I don't know. I guess negative viewing. And kind of like the first track off of College Dropout, Heard Him Say, I feel like is more of a reflection of reality. You're never guaranteed something tomorrow, and like, but even if you see all these like talks about I'm trying to look for the exact line. The dope boys are the rock stars, and kind of growing up in that environment, like you kind of learn that tomorrow is not guaranteed, and but then like to go and turn that all around to the next track, which is touch the sky, and even Gold Digger, like I mentioned, like is very hype track, touch the sky, kind of him realizing his I'm getting there, like I'm kind of here, like I'm touching the sky up and for greatness, you know. Or even something like Gold Digger, which is really simple, just about a gold digger, and it's just a really good song. And this album is a lot more, I think, playful in ways, and a lot more kind of, I guess, straightforward. Like I said, not as negative or not as of like a somber outlook, more of like
Yeah.
a reflection of reality. Like even the track after that, the Drive Slow, like driving slow in the hood, and stuff like that.
Just kind of flexing your.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, flexing and stuff.
I have a comment on that actually. I was thinking just like with it's kind of being more positive in general. It seems like I don't know if he did this intentionally, but specifically with it being called late registration, like I almost feel like these are some thoughts he might have had, right? And especially just because how short this album, the short the time is between making, his first album and this album. Um, I think that. Sorry, I lost my. I know what I was trying to say. I just lost my articulation for a second.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I was trying to say. It seems like some of these ideas and things he's talking about in this one or not even just the ideas, just the whole adding more kind of flavor and variety, and not being like so depressed is almost like some afterthought, like hindsight, um, like stuff he kind of realized after making the album and after growing up a little bit, and now he's not so fresh out of college. He's had a little bit more time to kind of reflect, and it's just like this album seems like like you were saying, the first album seems like a reflection of reality. Like the second album seems like a reflection after a reflection.
Yeah,
But yeah,
because the graduation of that kind of being in the midst of you know he has all this stuff planned out for that album, and then he has his experiences during the making of that album, and that kind of feeding into this one is a really interesting angle to take, because yeah, it seems like all this stuff was just kind of fresh on his mind. And I really like how yeah, just like tight knit these two are compared to Graduation, which seems a little bit more like and it's not really a bad thing, but like just more independent, whereas like these are way more intertwined in my head. And yeah, they very much like feed into each other. And like yeah, those are like satisfying to like listen to together, whereas like Graduation feels a little bit out of place, even though it does still fit thematically, especially like sound wise. I feel like these two are more consistent, but
Oh
that
yeah.
yeah, Late Registration does kind of hone in on the themes and the sound a bit closer to my liking. And yeah, definitely highlight for me has to be Gold Digger, because I feel like I feel like I'm going crazy when it gets to like this certain part of the song. But um it feels like there's an automaton sound. Have you ever heard of those things?
Yeah. No. I know what you're talking about. He uses a lot more in the next album, Graduation. That's I think when he gets into more electronic music. Ironically, too, that's the first album he kind of collaborate. I guess collaborates maybe the wrong word, but does something with Daft Punk, who's obviously very electronic. But you see the inklings of it, kind of here in this album. Like not too much, but there's a couple of songs that utilize that.
Yeah, I really love. I guess it could have just come from a keyboard at the time anyway, but like
Mm-hmm.
that's so like yeah. I listen to a lot of like automaton stuff whenever like it
Mm-hmm.
comes up. And uh just like having that come up in the middle of that song was really funny to hear. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just the song overall, especially like when at what point did he even like marry? I don't know if it feels weird like making a judgment call on like
Um,
his life compared to just like talking about his music. But like it is it's kind of hard to ignore that like he made this song and then like wound up marrying Kim Kardashian. It's
yeah,
just kind of a
a little bit
it's just
ironic.
I don't know, like
And I mean, yeah, I mean,
yeah, it's just kind
I
of
know where you're coming from. Like, yeah, we don't know her. She's just like a fucking celebrity, but
yeah.
people like that, especially growing up in that environment of like a really rich and well-known household. Yeah, ironic.
It's just when it comes to like people who are famous for being rich, it's kind of
That's
funny to
it.
think about. And that's why it's also so hard for me to like really understand him like half the time, because it's just like and like I'm not really one of those people who's just like, oh yeah, all rappers are posers, because like most artists like talk about stuff for
Yeah.
the sake of art. That's just like
Um. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Especially emblematic of the next couple songs, my home crack music, like especially crack music, which is literally kind of just like I guess a critique of like not people doing crack, but like I guess not a critique's not a way word, like a comparison almost of like how he's making the crack music, making the music that people want to listen to, and kind of how people point to stuff like that, especially at the time, especially like late '90s, like early 2000s. people pointing to that as like, oh, that's what's ruining, society. That's what's ruining, our youth is like this rap music.
Yeah, it can be a little bit uh because this album is uh more fun, maybe not more fun because like it's just, yeah, it does feel uh better paced than the first one,
Mm-hmm.
but at some point when it comes to rappers that do just kind of like talk about uh how much stuff they own and how many women they get, it is I'm kind of like, especially when it comes to Drive Slow, I'm kind of just like waiting for him to like get to something a little bit more substantive than just like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, because the overall theme of like all three of these albums is like the struggle, and then he took to get to this place, and then him making it.
Mm-hmm.
uh but then like by the time he makes it, it's kind of like just seeing what characters are up to after the end credits is like not as interesting because everything's like fine. Uh and I don't believe that like only like artists in pain make good art. Like, I think you can still make like happy songs and stuff. Uh, but yeah, Drive Slow is one of like my one of the songs I'm less interested in, just because it's like, yeah, I get it, and then it just kind of like keeps going, and it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
But I think what really holds, specifically Drive Slow, at least for me, is like just the sample. The sample's just really catchy and like really, really utilized well. And it's funny that you say that. And we're kind of blitzing a little bit through the album, but uh, then right after that is Roses, which is like a lot more personal. And I think the first time that he really gets super personal in one of these
Hmm.
songs, talking
Yeah,
about
that's
like
another one of my favorites for sure.
yeah, like his grandmother, and I think I saw this. There was another like real life story, like in the middle of making this album, his grandmother got really sick, and he had to go like visit her and stuff.
Yeah,
And even just this whole section,
the
it's almost like this album is broken up into sections by skits, like because after that is Bring Me Down and Addiction, or another couple personal, specifically I guess it more addiction, um, about yeah addiction, like getting addicted to stuff, and this stuff feels so good and makes me feel so good, but what really can it really offer to me, than more than just being pleasure.
yeah, this is when it picks up again for me. Between Roses and Addiction, those are again just like really heavy hitters for me. I love how Kanye talks about like Magic Johnson like recovering from AIDS,
Yeah.
and like saying, "Oh, if my grandma were a basketball player, are you saying that she'd be okay?" And it's just like really, really sad
Mm-hmm.
picture to just like emblematic of people in power like being able to survive like a lot of stuff that most doctors will brush off as like, well, we haven't really like pinned it down, so I mean, I guess you should start saying goodbye, compared to like yeah, how economic it is, and focused it is a lot of the time, maybe not all the time, but a lot of the time. And just yeah, him, I don't know at what point, because like I think he talks to like the nurse who like wants a uh uh autograph from him, um and like he's just like how crazy and insensitive that
Yeah.
interaction is,
Yeah.
considering like he's just like asking like, is she gonna be okay? And then like uh yeah, it's bizarre like thinking about like how he basically has everything now, and this was still at a part in his career where like he was
Mm-hmm.
just like, he still had to say goodbye to someone like his grandma. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was a pretty, yeah, one of my favorite like uh kind of one of the best like kind of storytelling
Mm-hmm.
songs on this
Mm-hmm.
album for sure. And then going on to Addiction, how uh he does encompass a lot of stuff, like not just drugs but or drinking, but also like sex, and how like
Mm-hmm.
uh I also just love that guitar that's like constantly uh going on, that like immediately like hooks me in, and like really, yeah, it's an addicting like
Yeah.
kind of hook to rap along to, and I'm saying hook like I really like, again, just like these musical terms, I'm just like I don't know if I'm like getting everything I want to say across
Yeah.
properly, but like yeah,
Yeah,
it's
definitely. Because I definitely
it
feel you
really
that talking about movies is a little bit easier than music.
That's kind of why I haven't said too much because I've just kind of been of the same consensus. Like, yeah, I feel the same way about like the guitar riff and like Addiction, and then like yeah, I think Roses is it's really good. Like what you said, just like the storytelling thing. And so there's like not as much to say, but
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't mean it's like any less
Mm-hmm.
valid or like significant.
Because it's music, and a lot of it comes with the beats and like the actual musical instruments that they're using, and um yeah, and like you said, like characters and stories and writing is a lot easier to talk about than like kind of the subtleties in music making. Um,
mhm.
like because
It's a lot of just vibes,
yeah,
and
yeah,
I would like to, think that uh especially like I like kind of keeping track of like my top songs
oh
from
yeah,
like when I started on Spotify to like now, and I think I have like changed for the better from like listening to Tobuscus nonstop to now. But yeah, it's just one of those yeah, it's just so much harder for me to like put into words, but it's something that I can still like recognize as like, you know, something that something of talent compared to what he's been doing now. Even though I haven't heard everything from him, there's a stark difference from like these earlier ones to everything I've heard today. And yeah, I wouldn't really. I don't think the only way for him to like um, make music that's interesting to me today would really just be like, oh, I just hope he, goes back to like what he used to do. Because plenty of artists I listen to. I recently, finished David Bowie's discography is massively different like every decade. Uh, but I mean, I think it's just more like the way he goes about his albums, and um, just like yeah, I wish he stopped trying to uh just trying so hard to like be noticed, and like really just like stuck to his guns with what he really wants to get across, compared to just like uh just like, feeling that sense of
yeah,
yeah
just kind of doing things to
invulnerability
like
like
do them,
before.
opposed to like
Hmm.
actually having, and maybe that goes hand in hand with like what I always say. Make a good movie, make a good album. You gotta have like a vision of some kind. Gotta have like a good idea or something you want to put into it, and I think that's why like especially like rap is so saturated nowadays. It's just because it's so easy for everyone to do it, and most people just kind of do it to do it. Because I want to be a rapper, or I want to get clout or whatever, without having an actual kind of vision or anything they really actually want to put into the music. Just kind of rapping for rapping sakes. The song after that, or you have the second skit, and then the song after that is Diamond from Sierra. And did you guys listen to? Because there's two versions. There's that version, and then the bonus
Hmm.
track version, which is the non like remixed version of it.
I did not.
I don't
I
think I heard the original one.
Yeah, there's not too much of a difference. I think I might like the remix slightly better because it has Jay-Z on it, and I think that's the only major difference. And the slight kind of not beat change, but the slight difference between like the music in that one and then opposed to the remix. But that's the other thing about this album. Unlike I'd say the College Dropout, I think late registration and graduation both have two bonus songs that weren't included on the original album release. Like this one, and you'll just see it on Spotify. It has both Diamonds and Sierra versions, and it has Late. Another good song. Same thing with We Major. Another really good song. Uh, I don't know. This it's also kind of like the last half of like the last album. Like these are just good songs, and there's not really too much, at least for me, to say about them. Except maybe like "Hey Mama," which I also thought was a good kind of personal song. Basically, like I "Hey Mama, I did it." Like because that's something you also see in a lot of these first three albums, and again, just a lot of interviews from this time. He loves his mother.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, yeah. And then I think Celebration is like the biggest precursor to graduation because it's really just what all graduation's about. It's literally just what it says. It's like just like a celebration of kind of getting through all the stuff. Not only that he talked about on the first album, but that he's talked about already. Kind of like a big woohoo. And kind of the glamour and things that he gets from being this like big artist. Ironically, what he was kind of rapping against, and or I guess not against, but expressing an addiction that he's addicted to.
Hmm.
And I also thought just like the closer on this was just a lot better. Whether you're listening to the one on Spotify, which is like the one that includes the bonus tracks, or you just listen to the regular album, which is with the last song is just gone, and yeah, it's not 14 minutes long.
Hmm.
And has a good. I've been listening to a lot of Consequence, but he was on the first album, College Dropout, a lot. It seems like a pretty good rapper. I should probably listen to more of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a better uh, closer than the last one because it gets to the point and like
Mm-hmm.
again just takes what he's trying to say and puts it into you know an actual song and
Yeah.
uh, yeah, and, more thoughtful way than just like going off. I talked about how I really love uh, that Daft Punk song Marauder.
Mm-hmm.
I can't pronounce it like sometimes, but like but how like that is like the one song in that album where he's going off about where he came from compared to like where he's been and like um I think it helps that it's not just like over a beat, it's like building along with what he's saying.
Mm-hmm.
So like there's a little bit more depth to it than just like, someone talking over a beat. And how it does let you uh like after he explains his inspiration for how he would make music going forward, lets you he lets you in on like what that sounds like now and like gives you a lot of time to appreciate you know what what it all led to, and then like he comes in the last time and like wraps it up and closes it
Mm-hmm.
with like this amazing score. uh and like yeah, I think Kanye just like works a little bit better whenever he is rapping because like uh yeah, his skits are like funny, but like he hasn't been able to like implement it in that way where it's like it kind of justifies being um just like a talking section of the song or album. uh and I think yeah, Late is a good representation of that
Mm-hmm.
really
And
just
yeah, I was about to say even like Late, ironically being the last uh song of the album, and then coming after like just like about another bonus track. Um, it hits the nail on the head. Um, not only obviously all that plus the album being called late registration. Um, but honestly, it's ironically enough, it's like one to me. It's one of the best songs on that on this album. And
Mhm.
I whether you're listening to it normally or with the bonus tracks, I think either way, both tracks are really good closers for this album. Puts a nice little kind of bow on top of it, I think. Huh?
uh
Getting the ratings and favorite song.
I think for me it would probably have to be Touch the Sky, followed by, again, just like one after the other, Touch the Sky and Gold Digger. Touch the Sky a little bit more, just because it's such a, yeah, rambunctious, um, you know,
Mm-hmm.
uplifting and just like not too full of itself, like celebration of like all of the accomplishments he's made and how, yeah, really, uh, yeah, just whenever I'm thinking of uh, yeah, the way it's sampled too, it has the uh, isn't it That Lady, or what is it? What's the official sample of this song? It's like a
Uh,
classic.
oh yeah, yeah. I Got a Woman by Ray Charles.
Yeah, I Got a Woman. Yeah. Uh, the way he takes it and like um makes it his own in a way that's like
Yeah.
it's not unrecognizable. It's just like he really has like these like pounding beats that emphasizes that in a much I don't want to say stronger because I really love the original song too,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it's like it's just one of like the top of my head like pure like happiness victory songs I've ever heard. uh it's just so like I'm just ready to like get up in the morning and like get
Mm-hmm.
stuff done with it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's got to be mine.
All right. I'd say for me, because there is also a lot of good songs on here. I'll. I think I'll have to go with "Heard 'Em Say." I don't know that Adam Levine feature and like you said before, the guitar in the back is. They all just meld perfectly together. That's the only thing, like, and that's what I was debating. Like, it's got to be either that one or like Roses, just for like the personal part of it. But I guess for me, overall, I think it's got to be Heard 'Em Say. Yeah, really good fucking track.
Um. All right. Um. I'm the same as Daniel, but reversed. So, I like Gold Digger and Touch the Sky, but I think I like Gold Digger a little bit more than Touch the Sky. Um. No particular reason. I don't know. I just that's just my bias. I don't know, something about Gold Digger. This sounds better to me. Um. But yeah. I think it's pretty good. But I'm actually not going to, even with the variety, put it over College Dropout.
Oh yeah.
Um, I'd probably put it at I'd probably put it at the same, just like 8-ish, 8.5. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I could put either over the other.
Yeah,
Well.
I would say I liked it a little bit more. It ironed out the skits a little bit more in a way that kind of made for less of like I'm just waiting for them to get over with and more like there is like a change as it goes along and it's not like reiterating the same uh stuff, or if it is it's like it's just like I don't know, there's kind of like these subtleties in the performance that I kind of got a kick out of, where like they like he gets kicked out of like that um his group because
Oh
like
yeah.
he's becoming too successful. Like,
Mm-hmm.
uh, yeah, I thought they were like a little bit more, just like a tad bit more brisk when they went over them, and
Oh yeah.
uh, yeah, helped kind of track where the album was in terms of uh, yeah, just I guess where Kanye is as a character in it, and yeah, I guess yeah, for now a 7.5. And I really don't rate albums a lot of the time. It's mostly just like uh I usually have to wait like a really long time before I'm like certain compared to
Mm-hmm.
movies, but just for now. And like I definitely listen to all these albums like multiple times enough to know that it's probably my favorite out of these three. So yeah.
Okay. I also did like this more than probably College Dropout, mainly for probably exactly what you said. Like, it's less fluff. The skits aren't as distracting, and I feel like there's more variety. I think I'd give it the same score though, like an 8. But I think I would personally put Late Registration over College Dropout.
I guess
Yeah,
we'll talk about the next one.
yeah. The last one that came out in that kind of early 2000s era, the last one he made before he lost his mind, probably. um, and I might be a little more exciting, maybe say a lot more about this one. I don't know. This is one of my first ever Kanye albums that I listened to, and I don't know. I love this song. It's Graduation 2007. Um, I think not only does it automatically like just hit after hit after hit, there are no skits, and everything's a lot more, I feel, condensed. And like I've said before, I think that's his biggest problem when making music or albums. Just he just likes to bloat stuff and make things way longer than they really should be. And I feel like I there's nothing on here that I feel like does that at all. This is just such a tight knit album. I mean, it's what 54 minutes, and both of those other albums were over an hour 15, hour 20 minutes, I think, and this one's only 54. And just kind of diving up in there at first. The title really reflects what the album's about. A lot more, or at least I guess reflective of like the last two kind of. Basically, I made it album. I did it. Like I'm here. Like I all the hard work, all the shitty jobs, the racism, the growing up in the hood and dealing with all this shit. Through all that, I made it here, and I think this is not only a testament to all his success, but I think this is kind of the last time he was like super positive. Like I feel like like almost none of these songs are like all that negative at all. Especially those first, oh man, Good Morning Champion and Stronger, all songs kind of emblematic of his success. I mean, and that's what a lot of these songs, Champion, Stronger, Can't Tell Me Nothing, even Drunken Hot Girls, all kind of ooze this success, this I've done it, I can do it, like I'm here and I'm enjoying it, type feeling.
Yeah, I guess. Wanna go first?
Yeah. I was just gonna say, I think what I pull from Graduation that I appreciate maybe a little bit more than the first two albums is just some of the songs that like they're not even super deep. You don't have to even really listen to the lyrics to kind of. I'm not saying like everything should be dumbed down and simplified, but it's just like it. With or without the lyrics, just with the samples and like the direction with the beats, like that. It's like it is a celebratory album, and also just like very just like very upbeat. Like a lot, most people I think would like these beats. Like if you just show them like Graduation, with no Kanye knowledge. Sorry if you guys hear that. I don't know if you guys do, but I think someone's mowing their lawn next door.
Damn.
So you guys can continue with your opinion, but I'm gonna mute myself just for the time being.
All right, go out and beat that guy up. Just
I
assault him
will.
in like broad daylight. But yeah, and I think that's why like a lot more people relate to this one specifically over the other two, and maybe even all his other albums, like maybe Life of Pablo. That it's all kind of very straightforward and very just celebratory. like I said, those first three songs, Good Morning is just kind of a waking up and feeling great kind of mood,
Yeah.
and very smart in the way that, that first album, the first thing on it is, like, does the wake up, Mr. West.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that kind of represents like the good morning is kind of like a I am awake. I'm woke. And then going
Yeah, I would say
into
for
like
me,
champion, that's also so like I'm a champion, with that great sample, that Steely Dan sample. I fucking
mhm.
as reflective of those a lot of the songs I was listening to a couple months ago. I really like Steely Dan.
The guy stopped
Yeah, I
mowing
think
his
this.
lawn. Steely Dan's awesome. Anyway, you can go ahead, Danny.
Yeah, I think this album, even though it does get rid of the skits and has the least amount of fluff for sure, for me, I do like when, uh, compared to like just listening to songs, versus like album experiences, I do think the first two had more of a journey that I could follow, and I really like that
Mm-hmm.
when I like go through albums, and this was like more of a package of like various yeah, just like very good but mostly disconnected just success songs. And they're yeah, I wouldn't put it past anyone for having this one be their favorite, but for me I would say it took out a little bit in terms of like that's why I it almost sticks out when like binging these three albums to me, because it's just like uh yeah, the uh it's just like a full on, celebration that's not really it didn't really have any messages that like resonated with me in a deep way, but uh they're definitely all good. And yeah, going on
And I
to
think this,
Stronger, that's like
yeah, oh yeah, like another good
that's
like
my like
use of like a sample or like turning a song into like something else, especially with at the time this was new. Like this wasn't like Champion samples like a fucking Steely Dan song from like the 70s, but
mhm.
Stronger at the time was like a recent song that had come out. And I didn't look anything up, but I wonder what like man, just to be a fly on the room in that conversation, because you would obviously and I actually don't, I'm not sure, but I would think he would get permission from Daft Punk themselves to like use that for another song.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, just be a fly on the wall with that on that conversation or that call or whatever. That would have been interesting to listen to. But like you
Yeah,
said,
it's
like
easily my favorite
oh yeah, uh,
because it
You said Stronger's
he
your favorite?
builds on it. Yeah, Stronger, because he like perfectly. I love how Daft Punk's style is to like kind of take one repetitive beat and then like spin it as it goes on. And they make a ton of like songs that are like over 5 minutes, but for me personally, I never get tired of them because there's always yeah, like I said earlier, there's always like a journey for me to follow. And I really like how every they give you a good idea of like every uh beat or sample they'll be like using throughout the whole song. There's like the way it progresses keeps me hooked. And like uh that's probably why the uh what's the Television Rules the Nation Human After All album, uh
mm-hmm.
that's probably why that one's like a lot of people's least favorite, because it kind of just like you kind of get the idea, and then like you know whether or not you like the sample is like kind of dependent on uh how much you like the songs, because it's kind of like it's not as uh transformative as uh a lot of the yeah, their other albums are. And not in a way that where it's like they're like lifting things straight up, um but just like they're easily like their best album is Discovery. And
Mm-hmm.
it already taking that like great song and like still being able to build on top of that is just like yeah, it makes for a really satisfying track that I yeah, just like gets me more like uh yeah, just like really gets me like hyped up and like a you know
Man, this is also where he kind of like solidifies that early 2000s Kanye look. That's how I first kind of saw him, like with like the puff shirt and like the polo and like the glasses. Like, man, I swear to God, he always used to wear those like dumb fucking like line glasses that like don't actually do
Mhm.
anything. Like they're literally just like decorations for your eyes because it's literally just plastic like lines on like glasses. That's it. Like,
Mhm.
because I just distinctly remember in the music video for this, he's wearing that. And he's just like dancing on the wall, like yeah, like, and I'm like, man, that's literally how like what he looked like when I was like a kid. Like this, yeah, it's a little hard to articulate, but yeah, that's classic Kanye right there. Especially with that song, and you know, didn't want to bring this up, and I think Hunter knows where I'm going. Uh, but I think it's essential to talk about, um, and I think just overall, we're probably not gonna spend too much time on this album because, like you said, like it's really straightforward. And there's not a whole lot to kind of chew or get because it's really just like you said, Daniel, a celebration. Um, but I Wonder is one of the best songs off this album, and you cannot tell me otherwise. I'm sorry, but from what he's talking about, and I feel like, ironically, that is one of the only kind of deeper songs on this album is I Wonder. Kind of him philosophizing and like questioning. Yeah, I made it, but kind of what now? And where do I go from here? And like what else is there to achieve? Kind of like again emblematic of the song name. Wondering, just philosophizing.
Mhm.
Well, I completely understand what the song's about. But yeah, what Adrian's talking about is I had a conversation about this song, and a lot of my friends are giving me hate for it. It's just how I feel about it. I don't think that the song's bad. I still think it is one of the best songs on the album. I just also it just doesn't really speak to me that much. I think it's kind of too long, and I just think it's kind of eh. I think it's I don't think it's as hype as some people make it out to be. Um, but I don't know. I guess it speaks to a lot of people, just not me.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just into the hype. I guess again, that could just be me. Um, I don't know. I'm into the beat. I'm into the sample. I'm into what he's talking about. And again, I feel like this is one of the only songs where he's kind of a bit emotional and a bit of soul searching in a way.
Yeah, I would agree that it lived up to the hype for me. It really has a nice uh like yeah, it's not purely celebratory. It's like it does have a little bit more to say than like, drunken hot girls or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's again just like with these albums like I feel like all of them no matter how good they are, they do put their best foot forward and like have
Mm-hmm.
the best songs in the first half. And
Oh, oh yeah. Well,
not that they
actually,
don't
that's
come
why
back
I think,
around, but like
yeah, that's why I think to me, this one's probably my favorite, and I think the most well-rounded because I think most of these songs are just really good. Like from after I Wonder, Good Life, Can't Tell Me Nothing, which is all kind of in the same vein of I'm living the good life, I'm getting everything, and no one can tell me anything because I'm on top. Even like Barry Bonds, which is right after, I got that good Little Wayne section, and then in Good Life as that good T Pain feature, and but all of them are kind of aesthetically and like thematically the same, just like yeah, telling me basically tell now everybody to fuck off. Yeah, I'm awesome. And and you mentioned it a couple of times throughout the show, but I don't know. I feel like Drunken Hot Girls isn't that bad. Like I feel like it is probably the worst song on this album, but it's not terrible. But I think I do agree with you. It's all just like it's okay. It's just yeah, talking about drunken hot girls. Yeah, like
It's just like, yeah, it's another 5-minute one that doesn't have like
yeah, like but yeah, you're
very
right. Like
much
it
to
doesn't need to
say.
be like 5 minutes. Like it is very straightforward and very okay beat, like decent enough.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and then I think you're right. Like all these albums really do like dip in the middle, and I'm kind of thinking about it. Like I feel like they all have a good start. They kind of dip in the middle and then like, come back up at the end because after that, which I think the middle part is definitely like Barry Bonds. Like Barry Bonds is good, you know, probably a little lower on the list, at least for this album for me. And then Drunken Hot Girls, but then in like 360s to fucking Flashing Lights, which is another
Flashing Lights for sure.
like I think one of Kanye's best songs.
Yeah, just really like, again, just like 2007, but like not in a bad way sounding songs. It's just like perfect like uh yeah, party anthem for that time, and yeah, really holds up today. It kind of
Mm.
it gives me like the feeling of um like being in a limo. Like out of all this whole album is like that, but like that one is like it feels like, kind of those neon lit like interiors while you're
Oh
just like
yeah,
going through the city in a limo just for the sake of being in a limo.
yeah.
I really like that flashing light vibes I get from it.
Oh yeah, and just like kind of the allegory of like the flashing lights kind of being like you know like an audience because he's talking to this girl, but like you can see it as both him talking to his fans and also probably talking to like an needy girlfriend or whoever, just kind of wanting this and wanting that, but not wanting this. Like the first line of the song, she believe in shoes and she don't believe in shooting stars, but she believe in shoes and cars.
Mhm.
Like you don't believe in something like extraordinary like that, but you believe in like very material goods. And then another fucking banger with Everything I Am. Like I'd say just the rest of these songs on this album are just really good, like really good. And unlike I feel like there was a bigger dip in those first two albums. Like the dip here was just kind of a pretty good song, an okay song, and then just back to fucking greatness. Like Flashing Lights,
Mhm.
Everything I Am, The Glory, Homecoming, Big Brother, and Goodnight. I think are all just excellent, and he really does get more philosophical and stuff toward the end. With Everything I Am, and specifically, I think Big Brother, which is definitely about like probably not only other rappers, but probably specifically like Jay Z. I think I saw something that he said that specifically a person he really thinks of for that song is Jay Z, because yeah, he was like I think he was one of the first people he started to produce for.
Is that the same song that was like something along the lines of I made a ton of mistakes, but or like there's a lot of things I would like to change, but those things made me what I am.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, that's always like, you know, it, it's not like crazy profound. Like I hear it a lot of places, but like it's also something I like to, it's a good thing I like to remind myself of a lot of the time. Is just like, yeah, you know, like there's nothing you can do to change the past. You can only like learn from it and like
Mm-hmm.
better yourself and like appreciate where it's gotten you, because like, you can't change your mistakes, but you can recognize, things that you didn't initially think were mistakes as mistakes now, and
Mm-hmm.
that's, that means a lot. Even though things didn't work out, it can still influence you positively,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, yeah, proactively.
And then Good Night is also a bonus track as well, kind of like late. But I think either one kind of works as a good ending. Like basically, Big Brother kind of being a reflection of his relationship, but also being like kind of like a thank you, like you were a big reason why I made it here. Like thank you very much, like kind of to Jay-Z, which sucks even more knowing that currently that their relationship is very strained and they're not as close anymore. And I usually don't get into like, I don't give a fuck about celebrities. Excuse my French, but I'm not really into you like I don't know, like everyone's really into like Taylor Swift right now, and like her and that football player guy, for some fucking reason. I just don't give a fuck. Like I couldn't give less of a fuck if you paid me, honestly. But something like this, which is more, I think has a little more nuance to it, where they're reflecting like their feelings and stuff through their art, like through their songs and shit. Um, I think that makes it a lot more interesting, a lot more enjoyable.
Yeah, and yeah, again, I think the only one that really had a weaker ending was just
Mm-hmm.
College Dropout, because like this one's bittersweet poetry. I like
Oh
uh,
yeah.
how that one builds upon itself, and uh, yeah, just like John Mayer too. He's like he may not be one of my favorite like artists, but he's got a like I really love
Man, that's something you
his
see a
features.
lot. Like we were talking about, just all these like early 2000s artists, like fucking Ludacris, like you said, John Mayer, Adam Levine, T Pain. I know T Pain and them are also kind of relevant, especially like Adam Levine. I think Maroon 5 still makes like popular songs. I think. Thought I heard one kind of recently. No, no, yeah, no, I'm dumb. Yeah, it's that stupid like memory song that like I only know because of that like guy who did all those like Family Guy impersonations and like sang the song. And that, I guess the only reason that I know that. But yeah, just like we've been saying, there wasn't a whole lot to talk about with this one because it's very straightforward. Just kind of, I compare it a lot to Tyler's most recent album, "Call Me If You Get Lost." That's kind of how I felt listening to that album after, especially after listening to Igor. It's kind of just this: I made it, and I'm traveling around, and here's what it feels like. Basically.
Mhm. I would say for that album, it was like a little bit more of like actually like something I could care a lot more for compared
Mm-hmm.
to Kanye, just because like how we kind of brought up like every album, like it is kind of about how he made it, and like it's just kind of different degrees of he made it.
Yeah.
Whereas Tyler, I could really point out every theme he was going for outside of just like
Mm-hmm.
glory and fame and
Mm-hmm.
success. And then like it that was like the main one of Call Me If You Get Lost, because yeah, Igor is like this breakup album, Flower Boys like about loneliness. His earlier ones, Bastard and Goblin, are just like these you know really like just like angsty teen, like
Yeah.
those. Yeah, I feel like there's just so much more variety in his discography. I'm also just like so much more like of a fan of Tyler the Creator than Kanye, so like maybe it's just like listening off of these like recently for the first time compared to like really uh, like knowing Tyler for such a long time, that definitely helps. But I feel like he differentiates himself a little bit better per album compared to at least Kanye's first three. But there is still a lot to appreciate, and
Mm-hmm.
uh, yeah, just like it's just like the reason I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
uh, crazy into him before was just like there's just like certain artists that like kind of have things that are closer hit closer to home for me, and if they don't, there's also just like kind of like uh sound I vibe with more. And
Mm-hmm.
uh but yeah, this yeah, um, I would say, yeah, like I said earlier, my favorite song was "Stronger," but
Hmm.
uh, and yeah,
Yeah, I definitely
Daft Punk
say
bias
for
speaking through for sure. Yeah.
yeah, I just say it's harder for me because I just think all these songs are so good. I think I'm just gonna do a top three. I think my top three are. Goddamn, even doing that's kind of hard, man. Like I just really like this album. I really vibe with it. I'll go Everything I Am, I Wonder, and Champion. And I think out of those, kind of want to just pick I Wonder to Spite Hunter, but I think I'll have to go with Everything I Am. I just really like that sample. It's a good beat. He's talking about kind of another song that he's very reflective on, like kind of everything that he's gone through, everything that he's done has kind of made him who he is today. And yeah, I think I'll go Everything I
All right, that's okay to be wrong.
Am.
If I'm doing top three, Champion, Stronger, and I'm tied between Can't Tell Me Nothing and Flashing Lights, but I'm probably gonna lean more towards Can't Tell Me Nothing. Um, but I wonder below all of those songs. And not even out of spite, just because I
Yeah, you're
genuinely
just
think
doing
that.
it to spite me. I hate you.
No, I just genuinely think that.
Damn. All right. Okay.
But oh, it's not the worst song. The worst song is probably Drunken Hot Girls.
Yeah. I
Maybe.
think we can all probably collectively agree that.
Uh, but yeah, this is a good album. I'm gonna say I like it just the tiniest bit more than the first two, but not much more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so like a 9.
All right. I think I also was gonna give it a 9. Yeah. This is one of the best Kanye albums to me. I think it gets rid of a lot of the problems I have with Kanye, and while it's not as in depth and philosophical, I don't know how to say that word, but it's not as
Philosophical.
yeah, it's not as deep as like the other albums. Like there's not as much to chew on. I still think everything's solid. Everything's got a good like sample on it, and all the songs are good except for one, which is okay. I think
Yeah,
a nine,
I
a nine, nine.
guess I'd go with like 7 again. Not quite as satisfying as Late Registration for me. But just yeah, I guess disclaimer: I'm not a Kanye fan, and my opinion is automatically wrong. So, uh, and also I.
Yeah.
I, I I really don't have that strong of an argument outside of
Mhm.
just like more just what I like listening
Yeah.
to compared to uh because yeah, I was just not super into him before, but also uh can respect his voice as an artist, especially at this point in his career. And
Mhm.
yeah, my rating isn't indicative of like
Yeah.
like strong negative feelings. It's
Yeah.
just like I just
Like
don't
Hunter said,
love it as much, but it's like it's yeah,
yeah, no, it's okay to be wrong
okay to
sometimes,
be
you
wrong
know.
sometimes.
um, you wanna actually? I thought this would be fun. You wanna rank them real quick, just all three? Because mine would be really
Yeah,
simple. Mine's just as release. I think they just get better as he released them. So mine's really just college dropout, registration, and graduation.
yeah, I think mine would be late registration, graduation, uh no, late registration, dropout, graduation. But that's not again, like I'm not making any judgment call like on anyone
Mm-hmm.
else's rankings. It's purely it's a close second, Right, late registration is just that much better for me.
Yeah.
Uh
Okay.
in terms of like what I like listening to. It's definitely not like I don't understand why like it's up in the air with these three albums. It could definitely change at some point, but like it's not that far of a of a drastic change that would be like, oh, this is clearly the best and this one's clearly the worst. It's just, yeah, based on what I liked most about them.
I'm actually gonna just agree. I think that I'll put late registration at the bottom. Um, college dropout next, and graduation is the best.
Nice. Okay. All right. All right. All right. Well, that was great. That was good. Really fun talking to you guys about that. These are some of my favorite albums, and not only with Kanye, just kind of in general with music and rap. I really like these three albums, and like I said at the top, we're not gonna be recommending anything this time, just because we do have to re-record that Magnolia, and a lot of us think it's worth it to re-record because not only is it a really good movie, but we can get some good conversation out of it. But yeah, no recommendation this time. We'll be recommending next time at the end of the Magnolia one, and hopefully probably talking about a couple other movies. So I guess that's it from me and from us. See ya.